Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Net, which basically means humanity, and this is our humanity series on poetry. And we're going to take a new. I'm here with VUYO, and he's in South Africa, and I'm here in Washington D.C. But we're in the same spiritual space. So what we're doing is we're going to take an unconventional approach to poetry. VUYO has written a poem, and I have a poem fragment. And I'm just going to assume, because I assume this for everyone, we are not yet creators of masterpiece poetry or art. Not yet. But a lot of times we take our art to workshops and people will give us advice and show what's wrong with it and say what's good with it. And then later on, they'll, we'll take that information and make our poetry better. During our series, we're not going to say what's wrong with the poem. We're not even going to say what's good. We're going to analyze the poem and find out what the poem is at its deepest meaning and what its invisible aspect is. Because to me, the definition of poetry that I'm working with is that poetry says something that natural language cannot say, but it's using natural language, but it's using natural language the way a painter or a spiritualist will do it, or someone who's esoteric. It's using language as a medium to present something to you that when they now ask you to say what it means in words at its deepest aspect, you will not be able to say. So Vuya, you're a musician. If you do a solo and someone says, "What's the meaning of it?" You just play the solo again. You play the solo. The
Yeah,
music is the mean. You understand?
yeah,
When I listen to, you can describe it. You can say, "Oh, this music is soulful. It does this." But music is a language by itself. And if someone says, "What does do re mi fa sol la ti do mean?" I can't tell you. I just have to say it again. And when you feel it, you know what it means. So I think that that's what we're all aiming for with poetry is through craft and through inspiration to create a language in and of itself which has meaning the same way a painter does or a very good photographer does. But we're looking at the process. And so what we want to do with our unconventional method is just to give feedback to the poet on our interpretation on its deeper meanings. But as I said before, there's a barrier between what we can do with the poem when we're telling the poet what the deeper meaning is. There's a barrier because we're not actually translating the poem. We're just looking at aspects of it that can inform the poet. And then when he or she goes back to rework it, the poem, they can take that information and it will help them. For example, if a girl says, "I walked outside and I saw a red ball on the street and I crossed the road and I saw the red lights coming at me. I dodged, I fell down. There was blood on my arm because I fell down, but I still survived. But for years later, I would cut myself and see blood. Already, you see, I just made that up now. Already, you see a theme approaching, which is red. To me, I would say red is danger, but also red is some sort of excitement and anxiety and a lot of different things. I would even say that blood is also love. So what I've just done is I've done an interpretation of the poem where I see what images come out and what it points to. And then the deeper meaning is, okay, the trauma after that led this person to slash themselves.
yeah,
I might even say, I might be right or wrong. Maybe there's an attraction to blood and danger because that's
yeah,
what killed you spiritually or tried to kill you spiritually because you almost had an accident. But coming out of the house before she crossed the street, she saw a red ball and she went to the street to pick up the red ball. Then a car almost hit her. She saw the red lights. So that's I just made that up now. I need to write it down and make it into a poem. But so that's what we're trying to do with poems. We want to look at the poem that we have and see what our basically what our impressions are. And I think by looking at the impressions, we start to get to the deeper meanings. Because when I made up the story about the girl, I didn't know what the meaning was. It was just a medium. I was a medium for something that the spiritual world brought me. And actually, the spiritual world is actually something that's deep, going back to your poem, and it's within me. And as a
yeah,
poet, what I'm doing is translating dreams and imagery and things that are within me and bringing them out to the world. So that's my definition of poetry. Do you have any thoughts before we begin? But what I've been talking about, or in general, about the new process that we're starting?
um, y- yeah, man. you discover these pieces, you basically taking a piece of yourself, trying to understand and make sense,
Yeah.
and yeah, and at the same time, it's divine intervention, as you said, that
Yeah.
you literally add a channel, and
A
so
channel, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's even
you,
divining too. Like you said, divine intervention and divination. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, you gotta be open, you check,
Yeah,
you
and I
gotta,
and I think that there's no way we can be poets if we're not open. And the old method of poetry, where they say, "Oh, this is what's wrong with your poem technically," it's true. This is what's wrong with it technically, but it doesn't help the poet because the process of poetry
yeah,
is, as you said, divine intervention. Then later on, it's a painful process. Later on, you have to be analytical and cut your poem into pieces and rewrite it. But I think the most important part is the divine intervention or the divination or going to the oracle and finding out what it's about. By the way, I'm loving this.
yeah, man.
We're making this up as we go along. I remember what I told you before. I didn't even know these things until I started talking to you. But anyway, so let's start with what you said. This is beautiful too. Is your guitar nearby for today?
Yes, I'm busy changing my springs,
Oh
man.
yeah, don't worry. I
So
was just asking. But maybe later on you'll give us a vocal song if you want to, a lotus flower
yeah,
song. I'm just kidding you. Yeah, but anyway, so let's get started. So we're gonna look at your poem. There's a place in my mind I goes to sometimes. It's deep, a bit afar, flows like a cloud, flows like a cloud, flows like a cloud. Water me for peace to keep the peace and not the pistol. The light is not a dream. I like that. That's very paradoxical. Tree, color, star, dust in true form. Yesterday means no, as in knowledge, or no more. No more. Yet today, vivid is apparent. Your worth, the wealth is inward. Shut my mouth wide open. I'm gone with the wind. They did it like that, but now we do it like this. I love that. That sounds like a bebop or a jazz phrase. They did it like that, we did it like this. These dreams are written
crazy.
in my eyes. I am the living memory of my ancestors. Beautiful. Now, do you want to read it and do your own interpretation of reading it? I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's like there's a place in my mind I go to sometimes. It's deep, a bit afar, but then it flows like a cloud. It flows like a cloud. It flows like a cloud. What for peace to keep the peace and not the pistol. The light is your dream. Tree, color, star, dust in true. Yesterday means no more, yet a vivid is apparent. Your what the wealth is inward. Shut my mouth wide open, I'm gone with the wind. They did like that, but now we do it like this. These dreams are written in my eyes. I am the living memory of my ancestors. Biblical
Thank
scrutiny.
you very much. And you know what's funny? Because I didn't realize that this was, and then the next one. So is this part still part of the point? Biblically scrutinized. But I'm going to end here though with ancestors, because to me that's the natural break. You get my point. Is the
Yeah,
second part where you start with biblically? Is that still part of the same poem?
that's the second part. Yeah, the
Oh yeah, but
second part.
there's no need because this first
Yeah.
part is because this is a multiple series, so we're going to focus on that. And
Mm.
now I'm getting more understanding. This is it's 7 in the morning here, but I woke up at 5 to read this stuff. So now with the second reading I just did, it became very clear what the meaning of this is. And I'm going to go starting with the start of the poem, in which it says, no, the name of the poem is "Water Me for Peace."
Yeah.
So it's very clear. Water me, that means that's talking about plants, seeds, and what you want to do. The fruit of that is going to be peace. That's just my interpretation. I don't think there's a right or wrong interpretation when it comes to poetry. So unless I say that your poem is about bombing Palestine, we know that's not true. And also at the beginning of the poem, you have a picture. Is this a photograph you took or just a picture you put there with clouds and the sky?
Yeah, yeah, it's a profile I took. I was in a flight going to Cape Town.
Fantastic.
So
I was like, how did you take that picture? You were in the sky. And with this picture, everything you talked about is there. The sky is blue, the clouds are white. The clouds are
mm,
flowing in the sky. No, the clouds are flowing like a river. The blue sky itself looks like water. The clouds
yeah,
itself looks like the surface of the globe of the earth, and now we can go
Globe.
deeply within. And
Yeah,
now we can go deeply within. And that goes to the point at which you say it's deep, a bit afar, flows like a
yeah,
cloud. It's deep. The sky is deep.
yeah,
The cloud and what's below the cloud is deep. But,
yeah.
and I'm gonna go off track, but under this
So,
depth, go ahead. No, you continue.
by
You can jump in now. Jump in if you have something to say. Yeah.
like, it's deep, a bit afar, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, the far, yeah.
it's
And,
not really
and the way I
tangible.
look at that, that far word is yeah, far. So even that is ambiguous because far means you have a long way to go too, but it's deep
Yeah,
and yet afar
yeah.
from. Yeah. So continue. I'll let you speak for a few minutes on
Like
the train of thought that you have. Yeah.
so far, yet so close, yet so far, you know.
Yeah.
Basically,
And
yeah,
and I'm not lying to you. When I wrote notes on your poetry, I wrote that this thing is within you, but there is a it's almost like it's not within you, and you have to travel to get there, because that's the paradox. It's close but afar. And actually, this place, even though you say it's in my mind and it's in your imagination, it's actually within you,
yeah,
but it might as well not be within you because you're not experiencing peace right now the way you want to. There's peace in you, but it's not
yeah,
where you want to be yet.
yeah,
So there's the potential
man.
for it.
Yeah,
Same thing with a
grab
seed.
it.
A seed
Sure,
is
sure,
not a
sure.
tree. Yeah. A seed is not a
Yeah,
tree. A
yeah.
seed is not a tree. But
Mm,
within the seed is the tree. Close but far. Because this
mm,
tree is far from being this seed is far from being a tree. But ultimately it actually is a tree.
yeah,
So
man.
now we
Yeah,
need to look at what is the water itself. Is it an outside agent or is it part of the whole cosmos in which we are one? And it's a part of you. It's the water itself is a divine intervention. I'm speaking about what you told me before. It's actually a divine intervention, which brings out the tree, which brings out the fruit, and the fruit is
yeah,
peace. Now,
yeah.
later on, yeah. So there's no violence in that poem because I was looking at violence in other poems, which I thought were your. But I think there is some references to violence. Let's see. So where does the poem end actually? So anyway, I
The
do remember
poem,
reading parts at which there's pain, there's violence, and you want peace because you don't want the pistol. The pistol is violence, and
yeah,
the pistol itself is made up of iron and metal,
yeah, man,
and
yeah, man. So,
destroys and kills. So I bring out the peace and not the pistol. No matter what you do, I mean, this is me my interpretation in this lifetime. You will always hold a pistol in your hand because we are human beings, and that's the dark side of humanity is our violent tendency. But let me keep the peace and not the pistol. So now you within your point there's a lot of complex contradictions, and that's normal because that's life. And we all know that the best type of poetry is complex. If you say there's a poetry like in the Bible, the lion sleep sweet beside the lamb and everybody's happy, that can't help us because that's not our world. It's not our world. I'm
yeah,
going to end with this. I think the best way to deal with violent nature is through jokes and through sarcasm and through trolling, but you have to know where the limit is. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah, man.
Let me be sarcastic and make fun of you so that I keep the peace and not the pistol. I'm going to end with that. Any thoughts you want to reflect on before I move on the poem here?
Yeah, man. What I mean for peace, to keep the peace and the peace, though, which means the mind, it's
Also, very brilliant alliteration. Very brilliant. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, man.
Tupac says pussy, paper, and pistols. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So it comes in so many forms. So
Yeah.
what I mean for peace, which means water is it's like a reference of healing. You check that,
Yeah.
but now the mind it's in a chaotic state. You check.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, so that pistol also symbolizes that chaotic state. You check.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to make a long stretch. This is just me being poetic. John the Baptist was a violent person, and he submerged Jesus Christ into the water. And then the dove descended upon everybody, the Holy Spirit, and that was peace. Yeah, continue. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And water is a baptismal symbol. You get my point. But when you're talking about water as water me, like bringing out
Yeah,
the
man.
fruit. And I'm
Yeah,
just
man.
stretching the meaning. Yeah, I'm just stretching it. I'm not saying that that's your meaning, but water has so many different meanings. Even water is a cloud. The way when I saw that picture that you took, the cloud is water, the sky is water. I'm
Yeah,
just taking
man.
a leap here. Maybe everything is water if you know what the true meaning of water is, but we can't say what the true meaning is beyond the imagery and the poetry. So yeah, so I'll give you a few more minutes to discuss your poem and say what you want to say about it before we go to the one I wrote. Yeah.
Basically, which means yeah, water. I say that it symbolizes healing. We check water.
Healing. Yes,
Remember
yes, yes. Hmm.
through you know through the rivers, through the rain. Um, so it's either you drink it healing, you bath with
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
yeah,
Can I add
man,
one more part also? It's healing through the water is healing through going deep into the ocean and discovering what's underneath you, dreams and visions and things. Yes, continue. Sorry. Yeah.
true man,
Yeah.
and you on the ocean,
Yeah. So
and
you've given several
cleansing.
meanings of water, and then it brings about trees and colors and vividness too. Sorry, and I'm going to shut up now so you can talk. Yeah.
Cleansing, which symbolism of cleansing, which
Cleansing.
um
Yes.
yeah. As there's a place in my mind I go to sometimes, but they're not for me,
Yeah.
which means that it's also a state, where there's tranquility, like an always share.
Yeah. 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 I know what you mean. And I call I'm just calling it the Buddha nature or the inner being or the revelation or the I won't call it enlightenment, but whatever it is, it's a lotus. It's like a lotus itself. And
Yeah,
that's I guess that's what we're doing as trying to heal is to get to that lotus. That's the best I can think of it. So now I'm gonna go to I don't know if you want to read what I wrote or do you want me to read it first and then like you can give me your response. Yeah.
you can read it.
Oh yeah, okay. Let me see. I
Yeah,
don't know how I'm doing this. I think it's because of the wine. Yeah. And the mushrooms too. So let's go. So that's one thing people will learn about me is that I'm a clown. We have to be a clown in this world. That's how I keep the peace. I'm serious
yeah,
with you. And then after that we'll go to Lolita. Okay. Oh, also before we go to my poem, I was put this poem before you sent me your water poem. And to me this is divine by Christopher Okigbo, Nigerian poet. And
okay,
this is about water because Idoto is the river. I think that's a divine because I didn't know you were going to send me about water. So Christopher Okigbo says, "Before you, my mother Idoto." He's talking about the river. In Igbo, that means water or river. Before you, my mother Idoto, naked I stand before your weary presence, a prodigal son, leaning on an oil beam, lost in your legend. Under your power, wait I, on barefoot watchman for the watchword at heaven's gate. Now, this reminds me so much of your poem. The beginning of your poem is an invocation in which you say, water me for peace. You're starting to me, it's the same as Okigbo standing in front of Mother Idoto, the river, naked before your weary presence. And now he's not saying water me for peace, but he's saying, give me the call, give me the calling and activate me. So I see some connections between that. We'll go back to that because that no, we don't have to go back to that because we're gonna go to Lolita. So now I'm gonna read what I wrote and hopefully I'm not gonna be too nervous. Let's see where it is. Thank God for
you
phones.
remember,
I found it. I found it. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
you told me to disregard Lisa. Remember?
Oh no, I know. I meant you should disregard mine. That was a
Oh,
miscommunication. The one I sent. Yeah. It doesn't
yeah,
matter. We'll still deal with the Lolita. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, you're probably like this guy is rude. I thought you were this guy is rude. I meant this. What I said was disregard the poem, so that could be interpreted either way. You get my point? Yeah. So
so
so I
this made
I was
me
actually saying
sorry.
disregard mine because when I saw that I put Christopher Okigbo, I said, okay, well, don't worry, disregard the poem. But that's my fault. I didn't communicate with you properly. Yeah. So let's but don't worry about it
I,
because if you, we'll still talk about Lolita though. So let's go with the one I wrote. Okay, 5-year-old girl, her stepmother, her dad's oldest wife, just stabbed herself in front of the whole family. All of my father's wives and children were there. It's her birthday tonight. It's her mother's birthday. So I'm going to start again. So the 5-year-old, I'll give you some backdrop. The 5-year-old girl is in an ambulance with me after most likely I tried to commit suicide. And this 5-year-old girl is in the ambulance with me. 5-year-old girl, her stepmother, her dad's oldest wife. The wife just stabbed herself in front of the whole family. The girl says, all of my father's wives and children were there. It was her birthday. It was the mother. The girl is in the ambulance with me. Siren sounds like steam coming out of her mouth over there. Orange faces, blue faces, black faces, screaming woman whistling like cans of smoke. So, what are your thoughts?
And
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
there's so much pain, violence, trauma,
Mm, yeah. Yep.
suicide.
Hmm.
Suicide. As you say, and
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's pretty deep, and very hardcore.
Yeah.
For the stepmother to stab the wife and
No, the
and all
stepmother
the other
stabbed her own
children.
self. The stepmother stabbed
Now
her
she
own
stabbed.
self on her birthday. So I'll give
Yeah,
you some
yeah.
backdrop. I didn't write it clear enough.
Wow.
On her birthday, the stepmother, and this is obviously a polygamous family. The stepmother cuts herself in front of the whole family on her birthday. And I'll tell you the background for that poem. There was a day I was working with troubled kids in America, and I took them to the
Mm.
hospital. And there was a woman who came in, and she was in an ambulance. And someone said and her daughter was crying, and her daughter said she stabbed herself when we said happy birthday to her, and she was standing in front of us at the head of the table. She stabbed herself. That's where that story comes from. And also it's mixed in because I'm in the ambulance and the girl is talking with me. So yeah. So
Mm. Yeah, that's
yeah.
pretty hectic. That's pretty
Yeah. So
hectic.
anybody who says this is not real, if you go to an emergency room, you'll see things that are real. Emergency room. You get my point?
Yeah.
It was in the emergency room. They brought the mother, and she still had the thing in her throat. She didn't die. She put a knife into her throat like this. And when they brought her in the thing, she was. Uh, I'm probably making that up. She didn't have it anymore, but you could see that she had something on her, maybe a bandage on her. But because I'm a poet, I'm gonna say I saw the thing in her throat. You get my point? And
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
never
man.
forget on her birthday, everybody said happy birthday. She said, "Oh, my birthday, let me show you something." And she did that. And also, I don't
Mm.
know if it was polygamy, but I know she was an Arabic lady, so I thought my mind is. I know it wasn't polygamy, but that's just the way I recreated the poem. You get my point. And there's nothing wrong with polygamy. It just seemed like it was an interesting story that if you have
Mm.
different mothers and children, and then the on the birthday for the one of the wives, she does that to herself. So I'll let you do your response on what you think are the deeper meanings and things. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's very hard, and it seems like the mother, and then maybe some sort of abuse, trauma, that led her to literally kill herself and put a knife on herself. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think
and
within a polygamous atmosphere there's tension, yeah.
sure,
Yeah. But also
you know,
to me anybody who would do that, yeah, I'm not going to say I'm not supposed to say it, but anybody who would do that there's some level of mental illness too. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That mental illness, in fact, someone who's not stable, who's well, would be willing
Yeah.
to like you know literally give yourself like that excruciating pain and in front of your children. You understand that? So you're
Yeah.
leaving your kids with also that that darkness, man, that trauma.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
So now
shit,
they're
man.
part of your trauma. Yeah, they're part of your trauma now. Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be a part of like that 5-year old kid for the rest of her life, basically. So every time, even when it's her birthday, she's reminded that hey, this was inspired before, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So and yeah, and I still remember that scene because it was crazy. Because I was with a kid, and the kid had to go to the hospital, and I saw that happen, and I was like, and also in the poem, just as a note, the character that's in the poem is in an ambulance, and he's in the ambulance for trying to commit suicide. And the name of the poem is Xanax. So he's
Very,
been given Xanax to calm him down because he had a psychotic episode. So yeah. So any other thoughts on the poem? Yeah.
oh man, I like I wouldn't put it in any spiritual sense, you know,
Yeah.
because
What? Ebuffalo.
it's full of violence, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
man. So
And also
in
there's the
fact,
last part. Sorry, because I'm indulging myself. What would be your thoughts on the part in which hold on, let me go back to it. Yeah, so the girl is in the ambulance with me. Siren sounds like steam coming out of her
mm,
mouth over there.
mm,
Orange faces,
mm,
blue faces, black faces, screaming woman, whistling like cans of smoke. Yeah.
mm. So it it sounds like frustration, you know, confusion, you check. And
Sorry, we're breaking a little bit. Did you say frustration? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
mm,
Okay.
yeah. Frustration, confusion, anger, you know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, trying to understand, you know, what really yeah, you know. And now
Ye-
seeing all these different cases, hearing all these sounds, you know, and being in that torment, in that space, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you. And also, just as a note, that's a fragment from a because the way I write poetry is I do several fragments which together tell a whole story. So that's just one part of it, you know. So maybe later on we can same thing with you. We'll look at more of the stuff that we do. So now let's go to the last part. Now, do you want to read it or should I read it, Lolita?
The last time I didn't make any notes,
Oh, I'll
you
write it. Don't
know.
worry. I'll do it.
Yeah,
It's a long passage, but I think I can make it. Let me have a sip of wine first.
you know, I do know it, you know. In fact,
I've
it's
read
one
that
of
book
my first things
by Nabokov.
that
I've read it. Did you read the novel?
you mentioning that to me.
Yeah, I read the. What are you drinking anyway? Is that I see some plants in there or some that's more like infused water or is it vodka?
Yeah, it's cheap.
Gin
Yeah.
with pickles in it. I love it. You're like me. I have wine and beer in here.
Yeah, man, it's
Our
cheap.
poetry series is going to be so entertaining. We're going to become legends because of this crap. So anyway, let's get. And also, we're wearing similar type of hat, similar type.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, most
One love,
definitely.
man. One love. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to read Lolita.
Okay.
So we're almost running out of time, but this is going to be a 3 week process. But I'm going to start.
Cool.
Lolita, light of my life, fire of my loins, my sin, my soul, Lolita. The tip of the tongue taking a trip of 3 steps down the palate, to tap at 3 on the teeth. Lolita on the teeth. Lolita. She was low, plain low in the morning, standing your feet 10 in one sock. Standing 4 feet, 10 in one sock. She was Lola in slacks. She was Dolly at school. She was Dolores on the dotted line. But in my arms, she was always Lolita. Did she have a precursor? She did. Indeed, she did. In point of fact, there might have been no Lolita at all had I not loved one summer an initial girl child in a princedom by the sea. Oh, when? About as many years before Lolita was born as my age was that summer. You can always count on a murderer for a fancy prose style. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, exhibit number one is what the seraphs, the misinformed, simple, noble winged seraphs envied. Look at this tangle of thorns. Crazy. This guy's crazy, man. Because we know
Such an
that
obscene.
he's talking about a 12-year-old girl or a 13-year-old girl. He's 40. And they're saying, and he's also a writer. So he's saying, oh, look at the syllables, Lolita. And he's saying she had a precursor. It was a girl he loved when he was young on a Princeton by the sea that he saw on a beach. I don't know. I can't remember the book. I think the girl died or he was mesmerized by her. And this new young girl is the he's now fixated on young girls because he hasn't left that period of his life. That's what I remember about it. Did you read the novel? You
No,
read it?
I haven't read the novel. I fell
Yeah,
in
yeah,
love. Yeah,
yeah.
I haven't read the novel.
Yeah.
I you know
Go
the
ahead.
story
What are your
behind the
thoughts on
story.
that passage? Yeah. What are your thoughts? It's crazy stuff though. Yeah. It's also very clever. A
Yeah,
lot of wordplay. Yeah.
yeah, it's like an obsession, of the young girl, and
Yeah.
yeah, now
But
him.
what makes it interesting is not just that he likes children and that he's a pervert, which probably for the love of children we must say he's a pervert. But
Mm,
it's a girl he saw by the Princeton of the Sea, and also he's quoting an Edgar Allan poem about somebody by the sea. I'll find it, but yeah, continue talking. Yeah, but the idea is that you get some meaning into it. It's not just that we're going into the deep, and he's also by the ocean, which is the water, the beach. He's letting us know that he had trauma and he's fixated on young girls because probably in his mind he still thinks he's 12 years old, so he's attracted to
and
12-year-olds. Yeah, continue.
that's
I'm
what,
going to look for that quote while you speak. Yeah, okay.
yeah, it's like a psychopath, in a
Yeah,
way, Yeah, the way how he's fixated and obsessed, man, with all the little girls, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, man. And then so, and as much as now he's a grown man, he's old, but now he still has that void left to fill,
Yes,
that,
yes, yeah,
yeah, in fact, that's how I see it basically.
yeah. That's it. Yes. So it's called and it's a void, and until he fills that void, he's going to continue doing that same pathological behavior.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. I don't even know if it's possible for him to fill it, but I think that this is what spirituality and psychology and music and poetry and most importantly, spiritual healing from our sangomas and from our society is trying to make us move past our violent tendencies and our because I have them. I have things that I want that I do. Thank God it's not pedophilia, but I have things that I do which are very bad, and I'll never go back there again. I have a wound inside of myself which caused me to do drugs and to neglect people that I love and to actually try to destroy myself. I can't go back there. But in order for me not to go back there, I have to understand myself and understand that that dark part of myself is in me. What do you think? Yeah.
yo, man, that's very, very deep, and it takes a special mind for someone who's been in that to literally come
It's
out,
literally hell. I've been to hell. I've been to hell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
It's not
And
anyone who's got that.
every day I can hear the voice of hell. I'm telling you the truth, which is why sometimes I'll drink wine to calm down. But because I have a son,
Yeah,
that's the only reason I don't go to hell. That's what makes me
yeah,
strong
man.
enough. And the way that
And
I
you're right.
yeah, and the way that I avoid hell is through irony. Because if you notice, I make a lot of dark jokes and be ironic. That's
Yeah.
the only way I can. I even joke to my son about the bad things I did, but I do it in a way in which he knows that I'll never do it again, and I'm sorry. But if I don't laugh, I will cry, and if I cry, I will die. I'm serious. Yeah, sorry, I'm not going to interrupt you. I wanted to see the Annabelle Lee poem, but what last thoughts do you have on that?
Mm.
On the poem by Nabokov? Yeah.
Um, on part.
What or anything in general? What thoughts came out of the Lolita thing? What parts came out stand
You
out to
know,
you?
in fact, even before, I think, let me just tell you something quickly. This
Yeah,
poem, how I came up with it. Um, it was on a magazine, but then it was like the first 4 or 5 lines, very long time ago. I think I was grade 7. And then it resonated with me, but I didn't really understand the deeper meaning before the guy talking about obsession and so on. I thought that it was him loving his daughter, you understand?
yeah,
To my surprise, he's like a pedophile, and
yeah. He is.
yeah,
He is. And
yeah,
I don't want to get controversial here, but we have to understand that every human being can be understood. So a lot of people say that pedophiles are monsters, and yes, they are monsters. But it doesn't help us to call them monsters. We have to understand why they are the way they are, and once we understand why they are the way they are, we can begin to do the healing process. It's very clear that he had a trauma when he was young. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
Yeah,
And
yeah, true that, man. No.
go ahead.
So
Yeah.
he
No, go ahead. You can go.
come again. Yeah, he's revealing all those traumas,
Yes,
you
yeah.
know.
So I'm going to say a poem called Annabel Lee. This is what he referenced, okay? And you will hear it. It was many and many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea that a maiden there lived,
Mm,
whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And he says Lolita. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to be loved and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea. You see how he's referencing this poem, you
mm,
see. And here's what he says. So basically he says she drowned. Okay, so in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her highborn kinsman came and bore her away from me to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. Basically, he's a poor guy and he has a beautiful lady that he loves, and they say basically that's the way I'm looking at it. They took her away from him,
mm,
separated because he's poor and she's a princess. You understand what
mm,
I'm saying?
mm,
But our love is was stronger far than love of those who were older than we, nor the demon so and wiser than we, and neither the
right.
angels in heaven above nor the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. He's obsessed with her. And this is
So
exactly
beyond
what
nothing can be
Nabokov
from.
is upset. And this is the beauty of poetry. I'm thank God that you wrote that poem and you're talking about water and the sea, because when you not that you wrote it, but that you presented the Nabokov poem, because it begins to show us now we know he's a pedophile, but we know he's a pedophile because at the age of 12, he met
Mm,
his beautiful love. And now he's
mm,
looking for her
mm,
substitution in young girl. And he can't choose a woman because if it's a woman, it's not the same girl he loved when she was 12
mm.
years old. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hey, it's
So
crazy, man.
yeah.
Very dark.
So yeah, we're gonna end on that, but what are your last thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Uh-oh, I think you've
But
what did you say again? Say it again because I think we the screen paused. Yeah.
it's very subliminal, but it's very dark. You check, but
It's too dark. And I'm gonna say for the first time, it's not good poetry. The reason I say it's not good poetry because it's imbalanced. Also, the fragment I gave you may not be good because you don't see the other fragments which balance it out. So I think a good poem has to be
I get
balanced.
you.
It
I
has to
get
be
you.
balanced. Yeah.
I
It's
get
it's
you.
it's dark and there's no resolution. It's the first part of the poem to me. He needs to add other parts. Now we understand him, but now we need to know how do you resolve it. And I think whatever resolution he does,
Mm,
it should have
mm,
darkness and
mm,
light within it,
mm,
complexity. That's I'm finished
mm.
for today. Now, what are your thoughts? Yeah.
Nah, man, you've said it all, Mustafa. You've said it all.
You know what I laugh because I've heard that so many times. You've said it all. Yeah, but still give us anything that comes to mind before we go. It doesn't have to be about that poem. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, your the thing coming back to saying that it has to balance with both the light and the darkness. You check.
Yeah,
Coming
yeah.
back to my poem. Coming back to my poem. You see how it transitions from flows like a cloud to biblically scrutinized, computerized, systemically brutalized. You check.
Yeah, so
So
yeah, I see it.
from that switch to trying to find solace, and
So
solitude
yeah.
and
And
truth.
that whole area, like you're talking about computer and everything, it's that's now the reordering process in which you create the new being from the fragments. Yeah. I like that digital reference because that's what digital syntax break things apart and recombinate them. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So how
So
could
so
it
what
be
would go ahead, go ahead.
like the dark side? Like how could it be that the world is Lucified, diamond sign?
Lucified, yes, yeah.
So I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there.
Yeah,
And
and
then
so
like
and so
man
you're
reachable,
looking at the
man
complex
reachable.
part, and it goes back to I'll bring the piece and the pistol. Peace and pistol,
Yeah,
they contradict each other. And that's what I said earlier. No matter who you are, you always carry a pistol with you. But you also want to make sure that you carry the peace or the dove. And even
yeah,
within those
man.
things, even within the dove, there's peace and pistol. And you can keep on going billions of times. The world is a dance between dark and light. That's how I'll end
Mm.
this show. Yeah. Thank
Mm.
you very much. Surprising. There's no way we predicted that this show could go this way, man. Namaste. Thank you. Love you very
Yeah.
much. I'm going to give you a call
Mustafa.
once with what's that? What's going on? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. In fact, I have a couple of really dope artists, man. You know, a visual artist that maybe I would like you we can do maybe the show with him as well. He might
Oh
be
yeah, yeah.
present.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. The guy that I collaborated with writing these poems. He's a painter. He's doing amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to give a shout out? What's his name? Yeah.
Ndendere Ishon Gamlomo.
Okay. Are you friends with him on YouTube, on Facebook also? So I'll check out his site also too.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah.
I'll
So yeah,
send
so
you.
let him know. So if you want him to come, because when do you think we can do the next show? Should we do it next week or 2 weeks from now?
We can do it next. It's cool. It's cool. No
Yeah. So
problem.
yeah, we'll set up a time for it. Okay. Thank you
Okay.
very much. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm not exaggerating. I never believed that this show could be this beautiful. And I believe it's a divine intervention because everything that came together aligned, and this was very beautiful. And at QuantumNet, not we. When I say we, I don't just mean you and me. I mean the whole world. We're bringing poetry
Yeah.
within a prism in which it can be useful to us. That's all I can say. Thank you very much. Love you very much. I'm going to give you a text afterwards, and we'll talk more. Good day, sir. Okay.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you.
Okay.
Beautiful show. Sure.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah, man.
I'm just trying to press the end of record. I'm paranoid. I would be so angry. Imagine after doing this whole show, if I didn't record it, I'll kill myself. Goodbye, sir. Okay. Okay, bye.
Goodbye, man.